Hello, all you creepy crawlers, and welcome to another episode of the Blowing Smoke podcast with Kimiko Kusanagi. Today's topic, well, I kind of wanted to touch on a thought that I had while scrolling through YouTube. So, being under the influence and the paranormal. That's today's topic. So light up and listen in. So, like I said, I was scrolling through YouTube, watching random ghost videos, because, when I got nothing else to watch, that's what I do. I watch paranormal stuff. So, I came across a video where there is a man, and the only time that he would experience anything paranormal was while he was drunk. And he would actually, record it and film it. But the whole point is that he was drunk every time that it happened. And it only happened when he was drinking. And that made me think back to one of my very first experiences in an apartment that was definitely haunted. And the only reason why I thought it was, haunted was because things started happening, and then I decided it was time to make contact with whatever it was. We're not going to get into that part of it, but I do want to talk about some of the experiences that led up to me wanting to contact the entity that was in that apartment. So I was sitting on the couch at one point. We had barely just moved in. It was maybe only a couple weeks in. And at the time, I was drinking. My ex-husband is not a drinker, so he wasn't drinking, but he was definitely under the influence. He was a smoker. And we were sitting there just watching TV, and I saw keys to the car that were sitting on top of the entertainment center, and it was one of those big-ass entertainment centers from back in the day, slide across, all on their own. That's how it first started, was just small things moving ever so slightly. Watch them slide across the table. Now, with normal people, that would probably send you running out of the room freaking out. To me, I was just like, oh, the fucking keys moved. What the fuck? Go over there and look at it, put them back in the same spot, wait to see if it happened again. Usually it didn't. So, I don't know. It was, at first I thought, well, I've been drinking, my mind's playing tricks on me. But then we would, stuff started moving around more, and the fridge would open. And here's the kicker: sometimes dishes in the sink would they get rinsed and stuff. I was young. We all know what happens when you're young. You don't do your damn dishes. Well, so I left a sink full of fucking dishes one night. I remember getting up and then seeing the next morning the dishes are still in the sink, but they were clean. Rinsed. Not put away. Not dried. Not in the dishwasher. Just rinsed. Just still sitting in the same places that they were. It was very odd. So, as time kind of just moved on, at some point I got into a really bad car accident while living in that particular apartment. And I was on a lot of pain meds, and I was like, well, I don't mix this shit with alcohol, okay? So, didn't drink for a while. But I was on painkillers, so I was still under the influence of something. And one night we had, up on our wall, this was before cell phones were a major thing, so we still had a home phone, but we had a home phone with speaker conference. So you could take the handset, because it was cordless, go into another room, push the little intercom button, and then the machine that was not in the room, you could use for an intercom, basically. And the intercom kept going off. And it would echo, because you would hear yourself in the room and stuff, and it'd make horrible noises because too close to the speaker and stuff like that. But nobody pushed the button. You have to physically push the button. It was not an issue where it was just a glitch or something, because it happened so many times, and some of those times I asked it to do it, and it would do it. And it would always shut off when I'm like, stop it. And it would stop. It was very odd. But anyways, digressing back to, scrolling around on YouTube, and it got me thinking about, is there some sort of psychic energy or something that we emit when we're under the influence, or are we just that more open and don't realize it? And that's why a lot of these encounters and things that happen, whether it be a ghost experience or even seeing a UFO or something like that, just something paranormal in general that you cannot explain, happens to us more often when we are under the influence than not under the influence. So over this weekend, I watched 2 movies. I watched Tarot, which it was all right. It's all right, but they do have a lot of the beliefs in the cards there a little bit askew, because I have never known a reader that does an astrological reading with the cards. I've never seen that. So that is definitely different to me. But it was overall a good movie. The other movie I saw was Deliverance, which is based on the Ammons case, which is also part of the whole demon house fucking Zach Baggins thing. So if you don't know the story about that, there was a lady that moved into a house in Gary, Indiana, with her 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 girl. And once they moved in, it started slowly, but then it kind of built up to where one of the children was possessed. And while that child was possessed, it was influencing the other 2 children as well. They were kind of like partially possessed. I don't know. It was very odd. And things were happening to the mother and the grandmother. She got her kids taken away. Big whole ordeal, to the point where she found faith. She brought in a priest. They had to do exorcisms on her, on the house, on the kids, things like that. And it was claimed that there was like 200 demons or some crap in this house in Gary, Indiana. Well, when Zach Baggins heard about it, he went and did his little investigation. He actually even bought the house. And in my personal opinion, why he bought that house was to basically gain any movie rights or any rights when it came to the demon house and its story. But what he didn't know was the Ammons family was already moved out, and well, he didn't know that, but the Ammons family was already in talks with another distributor for her story specifically. So what did he do? He talked to the brother, who was not part of the deal. And he also talked to previous residents, to the point where I'm pretty sure some people were paid to say things happened in that house, because he couldn't get the actual, rights to the Ammons story. Either way, at some point he also got pissed off enough to demolish the fucking house. Kept part of the basement stairs for his museum, but, the house is gone now. Now it's just a vacant lot where people still say things happen here and there, just on that vacant lot in that area, because now it's free. But once again, digressing from the main point of being under the influence. So if you watch the Demon House documentary, and they briefly talk about the Ammons, and if you've seen anything else on the Ammons family, they don't really touch much on the subject of the mom and the mom's alcohol problem. Okay? Might be some smokage here and there too, but mostly it was an alcohol problem. But Netflix did, and it got me thinking when I watched it, did a lot of the things that happened, or she saw happen because she was drinking. Now, the mom, at least in the Netflix movie, she was on chemotherapy, so she was under a lot of heavy, medication. She saw some of these things happen too, but not as much as obviously the daughter did. And then with the kids, when you're a very small child, and then, you have your way older brother and older sister, well, you know, when you live in an abusive household like that, whether it be verbal, physical, whatever you want to fucking put on there, that's all speculation, and that's all, you know, up to you whether or not you believe any of that stuff. The psychological torment part, and kids don't want to talk. So when, you know, the social worker and like the hospital people and stuff like that are asking these kids these questions and they say they don't remember, well, maybe they truly don't remember because it's blocked out for a reason. You know, our spiritual team does do that. They'll come in and, you know, there's stuff that we're not ready to deal with. It's going to get blocked out until we're ready to deal with it. Maybe later on in life, these kids are going to be able to deal with it. Another example is any of the kids that were part of the Amityville haunting, you know? Yeah, some of them probably do remember it from when they were little, but a lot of that shit probably got blocked out and they didn't remember a lot of things until later. Why? Because it was their own brain protecting them from the trauma that they endured during that time, because that is still trauma. Whether it be, you know, from an unknown being living in a house that shit's definitely fucking going on, and then you got your parents fighting, or there's some type of violent acts that are happening in front of you. Like, all that is trauma, and it can still get blocked out. It doesn't mean you're gonna remember it now, and you may remember it later. You may not remember it later. You know, there is that chance where your brain completely wipes it completely out, and there's nothing there. You ain't gonna remember shit. So, you know, it's weird to watch these things, and then, you know, it makes you wonder about a lot of these things. Like, okay, so let's just take the Amityville again. Was the dad drinking a lot more? You know, was he under the influence of something? Like, we don't know 100% that he wasn't. But let's, for speculation value, just say that he was, and he was under the influence of something, and shit happened. What is it that being under the influence is such a draw for this activity? It really makes you wonder. So many different things could be happening, you know? It makes you, like, the stuff that does happen, obviously, when you're not under the influence is just as traumatic as it would be if you weren't, or you were under the influence. It doesn't really matter. It's just saying it happens, seems to happen a lot more when you're on the influence of something. Or just the, you know, like the paranormal experience that's happening around you, whether it's a haunting, a poltergeist, a demon, whatever it may be, is just really, really powerful. It may not be really powerful, or maybe it's personally waiting for you to be more open and receptive to it, whatever it is. I don't know, but I definitely got a lot of questions going on, you know, in my brain about this, and really wondering if there's something to that. Just paranormal in general, and being under the influence. Some crazy stuff. Well, sorry this was another short podcast, but, you know, I felt that I needed to express this today. Get you thinking just as much as I've been thinking. Well, that's it for me. Stay creepy, like Kimiko Kusanagi, okay? Bye!